Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Today we're here to talk about this, the Mossberg Brownie. And no, this is not a 25 auto. Before we get started, I'd like to shout out to my supporters on Patreon. Everything costs money. Your contributions help more than you know. If you'd like to join my supporters on Patreon, there's a link in the description below. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors for anything from allowing me to show you their guns, to providing ammunition for tests. And so thank you all as well. So, in the wake of World War I, Mossberg set up shop as a gun maker. And today they are most famous for shotguns and rather less so for rifles. But their first product was the Brownie. And the Brownie is a 4-barreled 22 caliber double action only Derringer. And it's an interesting little gun. They produced these from 1920 until well into the 1930s. Total production numbers are around 30,000. So it wasn't wildly popular, but it was sufficient to catapult their business to the point where they are today and have been for a long time as a manufacturer of relatively economical, useful shotguns. And it all started with the Brownie. And after it was discontinued, it was many, many decades before they introduced another handgun. But that's a whole different story. Now, this was marketed both as an inexpensive self-defense pistol. They retailed for the princely sum of $5. And they were also marketed to trappers as a pocket pistol useful for dispatching trapped game. And, okay. Yeah, why not? One thing that I did note in the shooting is that this gun is, for its type, shockingly accurate. I fired it first at 3 yards, produced a reasonable group, and unlike most multi-barreled pistols, the barrels seem to be well regulated. They all shoot to mostly more or less the same point of aim. And even more miraculously, that point of aim is closely related to where the sights are aimed, pointed. So something of a small miracle. So let's have a look at this little thing on the tabletop. So as you can see, the Brownie is quite petite. It is 4.5 inches long, under 3 inches tall, and about 3/4 of an inch across. So it's very pocketable. Now, it is a multi-barreled gun, as mentioned, 4 shots of 22, and the double action trigger is long, relatively heavy, not crunchy or gritty or anything, but it is pretty long and heavy, and you would not expect it to lend itself well to accuracy. And you'd apparently be wrong. To open the gun, you press this, it lifts this T-bar, which includes the trough sight, and you swing the trigger guard and barrels down and away, insert 4 rounds, close the gun, and it's ready to go. As I say, no manual safeties with the long, relatively heavy double-action trigger. No safety. It wasn't felt that any sort of safety was necessary. And I think they were right. Now, the grips are just wood grips. They're secured by a tab that goes under the side plate on the top, screw at the bottom, simple lines across them, and it feels pretty decent in the hand. I mean, I get a 1.5 finger grip, but it works. And the sight, as I said, is a trough down the locking bar and a post front sight, which provides a not wonderful sight picture, but it is useful. And if you take the time to aim and do your part, you can actually hit things with it, as shown in the shooting video. This one had a broken lock lever spring, which I replaced for the owner. And When you have fired, since there is no extractor of any kind built in, this little tab pulls out to reveal a spring steel bar, which can then be inserted in the barrel and used to eject the cartridges, one after the other. And it works well enough, as you saw in the shooting video. Not a great solution, but not bad. And as I said, the gun is, you know, it's not a super high level of finish, but it is well finished. And this one's in pretty good shape, aside from little blemishes like that. Patent July 27, 1920, it says. And on the other side, O.F. Mossberg & Sons, New Haven, Connecticut, USA. And then it's marked Brownie. And the Brownies were some comic strip characters that were popular at the time and were small and cute. And Kodak named their Brownie camera after them also. So it was just a familiar bit of marketing. And it's easy to load and unload. It's not particularly convenient. You're not going to do it in a hurry. But in a self-defense situation, this would give you 4 reliable shots, one after the other. Now, that's accomplished because there is a rotating hammer nose with a firing pin, and this just goes a quarter turn every time you pull the trigger. It's actually a fairly substantial round thing that's attached to the hammer and is rotated by an arm as the hammer is forced back by the motion of the trigger. So it's a simple system. It's been used a lot since then on everything from cheap knockoffs of the Brownie to some rather expensive and frankly awful guns will remain nameless. But it's a good, solid, reliable little pistol. It's pretty easy to use, shockingly accurate for what it is, and it's pretty neat. With production numbers for around 30,000, these aren't exactly scarce, but they're not that common either. Prices as of this afternoon online seem to be in the $500 range, although they can go higher and sometimes you're going to get lucky. It's an interesting little pistol. It's pretty neat, decently made, all steel construction, you know, and for what it was made for, which was primarily self-defense, you could do worse. It's going to be arguably more reliable than a 25 ACP. And if you have a dodgy primer, well, you've got restrike capability. So, you know, it's not one of those weird guns that makes no sense. It's a weird gun that makes sense. And I think it's pretty neat, and I'm really glad I got a chance to experience it. So, if you liked the video, please click the like button below. It helps the channel a lot. Subscribe if you want to see more content of this sort. And I guess that's it for this time. So, I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.